the chef here and I'm turned out here. That's the body is here. I want everyone to see just how fun the body be.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. For copyrights purposes, I had to turn the music off, but I just wanted y'all to understand that it is turned up in my kitchen right now and we are feeling the holiday spirit. Today we're gonna make an American favorite, and that is eggnog. We need our heavy whipping cream. We need whole milk. I'm not sure if you can use any other type of milk. If you guys know that my household is lactose intolerant, but I'm still using whole milk. So I don't know if you can use regular milk. This is what I'm using. I've always used it this way. My grandfather taught me this recipe. He passed away in 2014, so he is not here to witness all the gracious things that he taught me and how I put them to use. But I just want to teach y'all this awesome recipe. So I have a pint of heavy whipping cream. I took that same pint that I had my heavy whipping cream with and filled it with my whole milk. You guys know I'm not a fan of dishes, so I try my best not to use as much dishes, right? So I got some cinnamon. I'm going to use a tablespoon of cinnamon. You guys see I took that lid off the top of that cinnamon, and it just makes it easier to pour it. If I use that little sprinkle thing, it's going to take all day for me to dump that inside of my measuring cup. I got my nutmeg, and I'm going to use about a half a tablespoon of nutmeg. And then I am going to put this on the stove and let this cook. I'm going to let this cook low and slow, you guys. That's the best way to do eggnog because I'm going to temper in eggs in it. And dealing with egg, you don't want to deal with too much hot, heavy whipping cream and milk because that can actually make the egg scramble when I add it to my pot. So I'm just going to take my whisk and gonna mix up my heavy whipping cream and my milk with my cinnamon and my nutmeg. You guys see at the top when I'm mixing it up while it's cold, it does not mix really good. But as it starts to warm up, and that starts to let me know how the milk is warming up also, how the heavy whipping cream looks with the milk and the cinnamon and the nutmeg. When the cinnamon and nutmeg starts to incorporate in the milk, I know that milk is starting to warm up. Like, I hope that makes sense. So now I am going to start working on my... Let's take a second to do my small business showcase shout out. And today I'm doing Desserts by Dee's. She is a chocolatator here in Houston, Texas. I actually worked with her with my 12 Days of Christmas with my wife. And she helped create these cool, awesome, delicious, and creative strawberries. And they were just yummy, fresh, big and juicy. When I asked her if there's something she wanted you guys to know about her company, she just wanted to let y'all know that she loved that her desserts allow her to put such wonderful smiles on everybody's face. It's like the icing on the cake. No pun intended. Well, let's continue making our eggnog. I'm simply going to take eggs, regular large eggs, and I'm going to use 6 of these. If I was making a bigger pot, I would use a dozen or more eggs, but I'm only using 6 eggs because I'll have a small pot. I'm going to take and separate my egg whites from my egg yolk. Why am I going to do that? Because I'm going to use the egg whites and the egg yolks in 2 different ways, and that's just how my grandfather taught me to do it. And I know some people might not even like the egg whites for the reason that I'm going to use the egg whites for. But regardless, you're going to need the egg yolk to get the creamy texture in your eggnog. So we're going to separate my egg whites from my egg yolk bowl that I'm going to put the egg whites in because I don't want to mix my egg yolks with my egg whites. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy for me to separate the egg whites. So when you open the shell of the egg whites are going to come out first. So I'm going to use that bowl to separate the two. And I'm going to show you guys how to separate. You guys see, I got my finger just 2 seconds apart from each other and swiping it up. As I'm swiping it up, I'm swiping the yolk underneath. You know what I'm saying? You see that? I'm swiping it underneath so I can separate that egg yolk from the egg white. So when I get my egg whites and my egg yolks separated, I'm going to do my egg yolks first because that's what I'm going to use to get that creamy texture to my heavy whipping cream and to my milk that I have sitting on a low boil on the stove right now. You're going to continue to check on it and mixing it up. Like I said, just watching how that nutmeg and cinnamon starts to incorporate into that milk. Just making sure that that milk does not start to boil. We do not want that milk at a boil when we add our eggs. We want it on a nice, not even a simmer. We just want it nice and hot to the touch, and we're perfectly fine at that point. So we're just going to mix this up. I have 6 egg whites. I'm sorry, I have 6 egg yolks in this cup, and I added a half a cup of sugar to this. Understand that if you like sweet eggnog, you're going to add a cup. I only add half a cup because I don't like my eggnog too sweet. And I'm going to also add, see what I'm saying? I got my pot. I didn't finish. I finished checked it on it. But I'm also going to add sugar to my egg white. So that's going to also add sugar to my pot. I don't want too much sugar. So yeah, I'm going to mix this up. You guys see now as I mix that and nutmeg, it starts to incorporate even better. That's how I know it's getting hot. I'm also taking my finger. This is for me at home. If you want to use a thermometer, you can. Just check it and make sure it does not get to the boiling point. We want to keep it under 200. We're just going to take our finger, dip it in, making sure that it didn't get too hot. And now we're going to incorporate our egg yolks. Remember that cup that we had, the egg yolk, and we put that sugar and we mix it in. We made like a sweet custard. That sweet custard is going to be going inside our milk. And we're going to cook that for at least 30 minutes before we even taste it. This is how I know that my cream is hot enough for my egg yolks to go inside there. You guys see that it was like a little, I want to say, raft of cinnamon and nutmeg and the heavy whipping cream on top. That's how I know that boil got just where I needed it to be. I'm going to give it a good mix, and now I'm going to add in my egg yolks. I'm going to mix up my egg yolk again just to loosen it. I like to make sure that it's a nice steady stream going inside the milk just so I can pay attention to how much I'm putting it in. I'm going to put it into about 3 or 4 increments, the egg yolks inside of the milk, so that I make sure I'm not scrambling it. Though you're going to constantly stir this up. And we're going to constantly keep stirring this up. If you guys can see, there's a little bit of steam coming from it, just a tiny bit. But it's not a simmer. There's no bubbles coming from it, just a tiny bit of steam. You start to see the egg yolk yellow start to show in the mixture. When you see that, that's when you want to stop for a second and make sure that you're mixing it up and you're not scrambling it. You're just going to keep mixing it up, keep mixing it up. When you incorporate all of your egg yolks inside of your milk, now we're going to take the pot and turn it up a little bit. Not till it starts to simmer again, but a little bit so that we can make sure that we're cooking these eggs. We do not want to have raw eggs. There's no way for you to taste this until 30 minutes. We're going to boil. So after you let this boil for another 30 minutes, you start to see the texture of that cinnamon and nutmeg start to clump together. And that's just the different stages of the eggnog. That's how you know that it boiled, or that it's not boiling over, of course. And that's how you know that the egg also cooked all the way through. It also see how creamy it is. I actually like my eggnog a little thicker, so I'm going to add egg whites. If you like this texture, this is where you're going to stop, and this is where you want your eggnog to be. Right now, I'm going to take my egg whites, and I'm going to mix this with a cup of sugar. Then we're going to mix this really, really good. I want you to know that it's still going to be a little granulated, sand texture to the egg whites with the sugar, especially if you put more than a cup of sugar to your egg whites. Remember, if you like it sweeter, you can add more sugar at this point because we're still going to add this to our eggnog. If you like the foamy top part of the eggnog, you're going to use an electric whisk. Or you can sit here and mix till your hand hurt. I don't want the foamy top part of it. I just want a creamier eggnog. So what I'm going to do is my hand mixer whisk. I'm going to take my hand whisk and I'm going to mix this sugar. And I'm going to mix this egg whites together. And then I'm going to pour this into our pot that we have already been cooking our eggnog. Remember, if you don't want a thick eggnog, then you're all right with what we already done. But if you want a thick eggnog, we're going to add these egg whites to it. And if you want a thick eggnog with a frosty top to it, you're going to use you're going to use a electric mixer, right? So let's do it. We're going to add this to our pot. And we're going to cook this again for another 30 minutes. Because with using eggs, you have to cook whatever thing or bake whatever thing that you're baking for at least 30 minutes to make sure that you are not doing, I think that's just the rule so that you're not poisoning yourself or getting salmonella or whatever else you can get with not having your eggs cook completely through. And I could have edited the video so you guys don't see me keep going back and forth, but I just want to let you know you want to constantly keep checking on your pot, constantly keep stirring the eggnog that you already have on your stove while you're dealing with your egg whites, because you don't want it to boil over. It's been already boiling for 30 minutes, so it's hotter than it was before. Even though you have the temperature on low, you've been having it on temperature low for a minute, so it's constantly just still been getting hot. So you just want to continue stirring it, continue making sure it's not boiling over. And now I'm going to mix this up and add these egg whites to my pot, like so. Like I said, we're just going to simply add our egg white and sugar mixture to our eggnog, just like we add the egg yolks, a little bit at a time, constantly mixing it up. If you want to do that slow stream like I was doing earlier, you can. But you don't have to. You could just put some, make sure you incorporate it all the way through, then add more egg whites, mix it all the way through, then add more egg whites and mix it all the way through until you mix it all the way through. And you guys will see how it starts to thicken up as you're mixing it. Like I said, we're going to cook this for 30 minutes and you have something like this. All you have to do is take your favorite holiday cup, pour and enjoy. Check me out, y'all. It is delicious. Happy holidays, and thanks for tuning in for your 3rd episode of, you got it, Festive Fridays. Like, comment, and share. Please let me know if there's a holiday recipe you want to learn, and I got you.